So guys, welcome to this session. As you can see the title over here, I think it is, how to grow yourself and your business and keep hold of the cash. This is a very quick rundown of one of our members' trainings that we went through last night upstairs, depending on when you're watching this. And there was a serious question that we're asking. And the serious question that we're asking, because it's my mission, what haunts me every day, every night, and yes, I have lost a bit of sleep over this from time to time, is there's 2.4 million businesses in Australia, but every year, without fail, whether it's COVID or not, 450,000 businesses cease trading every year, no matter what the economy does. Families break up, kids don't see their parents, business owners get lost, marriages break up, friendships are lost. It's just fucked. But why? So the question I want to propose to you tonight is, which do you choose? Because I'm going to run through this session explaining the fundamental single cause to why 95% of businesses fail. 95% fail. And for the ones that don't fail, the 1%ers that get to 10 years, do they have a great life out of their businesses? There's not many. So I want you to think about through this section, are you choosing success or are you choosing failure? Because you get to choose it every day. It's quite a long road to build a business. It's a 10-year period to build a successful business. So which do you choose? So tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning when you're watching this, I want you to really think, is what is the number one thing to success? Why do you think some businesses are successful? And why do you think a lot of businesses aren't? 5% success, 95% just end up, excuse my French, fucked. But there is a fundamental reason. So I want you to think, what's the number one reason why most businesses fail within the first 1 to 5 years, or keep on trading badly, or end up hating business and their lifestyle? We're in the best times possible ever. Your knowledge is abundant. We can learn to do anything. There's a guru for anything to teach us anything. There's a course or a system that you can get online. You can spend $97 on a course or $970,000 on a course. And just so you know, any courses that are just online without being facilitated by a coach like me, there's usually around 1 to 3% that only ever finish them. Just like when you buy a book, out of 100 books, there's only around 3 read out of every 100. And usually it's that same 3 people that are reading those 100 books anyhow. So there's a specialist in every area for life. We have to fall over ourselves not to get help. But why is this the question? Because I can guarantee you, for every 5 amazing businesses out there in any industry, when you're breeding worms, creating elastic bands, sending people to the moon, doesn't matter what business that's out there, I can tell you now, for every one that is fucking successful, there are hundreds and thousands that aren't. For every business that's unsuccessful, I can guarantee you, I can go and find one that is super successful. But why? This is the question that haunts me day and night. This is the thing that I work on for the last 30 years with all business owners within Project X, with all the corporate guys that I've worked with. Doesn't matter where young or old starting out. There's this single fundamental thing to why businesses fail. And we know what the answer is. I know what the answer is, but I want you to come up with it yourself through this session here. So which do you choose? Do you choose to be successful, or do you choose to be the wheelchair? Because here we are now, the orange guy on the left-hand side, and we've got 2 paths. It's our choice every day to choose success or to choose failure. But what is this thing called choice? What are we choosing? What does it look like? Is it ambition? Yes, that's a big part. Is it resilience? Yes, that's a big part. Is it to have systems, planning, structure? Yes, that's all a big part of it. But there's a single thing that's behind every business. The human being, there's a single thing that every human being has got to learn to do a lot better and has got to really enable. This is a lifelong quest to be able to conquer it. So what are you choosing every day? Are we choosing success? Are we choosing the baby? Because when we start in life, we're only born with a couple of things. We know before bedtime and after bedtime. We understand that there's only 2 fears that a baby has, and that's the fear of falling and the thought of loud noises. So if those are the only 2 fears that we have, loud noises and actually falling, and we only know before sleep and after sleep, everything else has been learned. So this one thing that I'm talking about that can actually set you free in business, this one thing that everyone that's working with me one-on-one or in a group or one of my courses, whether you're watching this now straight after the session last night, or you're watching this in 1, 2, 3, 10 years to come, what is the thing that you're choosing every day? Because this thing that I'm going to share with you is going to make the difference to the winners or the losers. The pro players understand this and chase it every day. So is this thing that I'm talking about that we all have to have, is it to be smarter? Do we have to get our brains working? Well, yes, that's part of it, but it's not the real thing. Sure, we have to be smarter. Sure, we have to think clearer. Sure, we have to spend time doing our thinking time. But if you want to avoid death, there's one definite thing that we have to get right. Is it about having the best vision? Is it about having all the funky stuff, the I am statements? Is it about having the best deja vu? I teach vision, but I can tell you now that vision is the easiest part. You might think it's one of the hardest parts when you're first starting off in business, or we get lost during our quest in growing our business. We lose sight of our vision. Vision is usually the easiest part if we set our minds to it. So no, it's not vision. Is it to work on your identity? Is this thing that's missing from all business owners, the identity of the human being, how we see ourselves, what we end up doing, where we're going, what does it look like? What do we look like as a human being? What are we going to change about ourselves? No, it's not that. Is it to have better marketing and sales and more structure, more processes? Yeah, that's important, but no, that's not what I'm talking about tonight. So is it any of these things on here? Is it systems, models, processing, calendar, sales, finance, meetings, thinking, financing, planning, teamwork? What is it? What's the black sheep? What's the thing why there's only a very small amount of businesses that fail? What's the thing that every year there's over 400,000 businesses in Australia that actually cease to exist, that either go broke and families break up, people get pissed off, they get fat, they get tired, they overeat, they get fucked off with the whole thing. Because when anyone comes to me and says, I'm thinking about getting into business, I give them one answer. I go, don't, unless you can produce, unless you can get better at this one fucking thing. Because it's this one thing that sets us free. What is it? So, is it the difference between a turkey and an eagle? Yes. So here at Project X, we look always to be, how can we be the best flying eagle, the wedge-tailed eagle with a 2-meter span, thinking very clearly where we're going, understanding exactly who we are, what we're about. Still not this. The thing about understanding this one fundamental thing that I'm talking about, I'm going to reveal to you in a second, is every human being can own this skill. Doesn't matter what education you have, whether you left school like me at 14, a stupid northern guy. And I can tell you now, this one thing that I've mastered in my life is the one thing that set me free. It's the one thing that's got me through every fuck up. It's the one thing that's got me through divorces. It's the one thing that's got me from when I got close to the edge in business. The thing that would save you every time. So I can give you a sneak peek into what the answer is. So if you can think about what was the reason why you got into business, the reason you got into business is the reason that you're probably going to fail. The reason I got into business was the reason I nearly failed. One thing I've not failed, I've failed in a lot of things. Hobbies, sports, marriages, I've failed in a lot of stuff, but never failed in business. Why? Because I know this one thing. And if I adopted this one thing to maybe other areas of my life early on in day, I do now, then guess what? It would be a different outcome. But the reason we got into business for is the reason why you're going to fail. So think about it. Write that down now. Pause this for a second if you want to, and think, why did I get into business for? And most people say they get into business for because they want to get into business because they want more freedom, wanted more control of their life, wanted to be able to do what they want, go where they want, wanted to be able to decide their own future, earn more money, got sick of working for the man, got sick of working for the boss. And most people that end up leaving their particular job because they're sick of working for a certain person, then usually realize that they thought they were working for an idiot before, now they're working for a raving lunatic. Think about what was the number one reason why you went into business for? Or if you're watching this as one of my cadets about to start a business, or you're thinking about starting a business and you're learning all this shit before you actually tick the big box and leave your current job, is what is the reason why you're thinking of leaving your current job? Why you are building your entity to be able to leave? Why you want to work for yourself? Why you want this freedom? What actually is it? Because the number one reason why I left working my corporate lifestyle was exactly this particular thing. So there's another little sneaky thing into this as well. Another little sneaky thing you can think about when you're trying to figure out exactly what is this thing I'm trying to get everyone to understand. My mission to be able to stop these businesses failing comes from the thing I focus and concentrate on every coaching session, every training session. This is the thing. And no, it's not to learn more stuff or do more stuff. There's a thing that surrounds all this. So I want you to think about yourself. How you do one thing is how you do everything. How you drive your car, what your car looks like inside, what your bathroom, your bedroom looks like, how you go about having your desk organized. I could be giving you a little secret here, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. How you dress, how you hold yourself, how you perform, how you have conversations, how you think before you say. So we're not trying to get into psychology here at all, but how we do one thing is how we do everything. Another little sneaky peek into this. If we don't have clarity on the real problem that is, we'll be fixing a problem that isn't. Now, this thing that I'm going to reveal to you in a couple of seconds really helps with this, because most people end up spending too much time working on a fucking problem that isn't a real problem, where they could have looked a bit deeper inside themselves or asked a better question. Most people make a statement about a problem. I need to get more sales. And once you've made a statement, I need to get more sales, you've said a thing. You haven't opened up with a question. You end up working on the wrong problem. You know, most people, if I need to get more sales, I need to increase my marketing. I need to get more sales. I need to make more sales phone calls. But what's the real problem? Have you asked enough questions to dig down deep to understand exactly what is the real problem? Is it a conversion problem? So often we got to try and find the best question. But if we don't put this thing first, I'm going to reveal to you in a second what we all have to master, then we'll never get to the right question. Now, I want you to think in terms of risk, not rich. Most people chase this pineapple. It's supposed to be a pineapple. It looks very pink on my screen today for some reason. But that pink, if it's not coming through, should be orange or green on your screen. But what we do is chasing money. And most people build a business and just think in bragging rights. How much have we turned over? How big is the business? How many people do we employ? And that's how we end up down here as turkeys. 96% of people just chase that fucking dream of the dollar, the turnover, the size, the big, the bragging rights. Totally wrong thing to do. Amateur players do that. Pro players don't chase the dollars. They minimize the risk. We build this road, the black road, as you can see on the other screen, the black road which leads to the dollars. So how do you build a road? What do? Yeah, put a foundation down, put a base down, understand where you want to go. But which will you choose? Will you chase the dollars or will you minimize risk? Because pro players, when they build a business, they look how to minimize risk. So which growth cycle is a true representation of a business? If you look back, we've got the bell curve. Otherwise known, it could be the sigmoid curve. So we've got everything from visionaries to early adopters to laggards. Oh, we've got the pivot tables. We've got the bar graphs. Which actual graph here represents a true business? Do we get the straight line growth? Do we have a good year and a bad year? Guess what? And the answer to it is, it's not one of them. It's fucking all of them. We don't know what we're going to come across. No economist can really think and understand exactly what's going to happen next year or the year after. So understanding this thing I'm going to share with you and adopt it into your life and your business and everything that you do will help us manage these trends, because we're going to get the big dip. We're going to get the big growth. And we usually learn the most on the way down. Where do we learn the most within the actual bar graph there? Usually in the lowest periods. When do we learn the least? Usually when we're getting the most sales. So the object as we're moving forwards in business is to really understand that we learn on the downside. Now, if we're not got our brains wide, we're not thinking through exactly what I'm going to share with you and following this process in a second, this is where things get fucking horribly wrong. As Warren Buffett once said very famously, you only know who's naked when the tide goes out. Now, when the tide goes out, if you follow my system and follow this thing I talk about now, when the tide goes out, you're not going to be left there naked. You'll be able to ride the wave over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I've been in business 33 years. I've made more money in the downturn than I made in the upturn. Why? Because when everyone's whinging, bitching, and running away and all colluding with each other, we become the solutionists here at Project X and work out how we can make more money in those downtimes. Because when a market's shrinking, we actually grab that market as everyone's running away like a fucking turkey. And when the market picks up, boom, we've got market share. So you only know who's naked when the tide goes out. Now, the thing about managing risk It's just because we cease to exist it. We're all very good as human beings of telling ourselves stories. This is the reason why it's happening. This is the reason why it won't happen to me. This will be good. We can tell ourselves into it. We can tell our wives fucking lies and stories. We go, this is going to be fantastic next year. We've got some great ideas. But great ideas are 1%, and most ideas don't fucking go anywhere. So business is about not carpe diem, seize the day and just let's fucking go and get whatever we can. It basically comes to, we've got to minimize the risk. And just because we decide to ignore the risk doesn't mean it goes away. We can't stick our head in our sand like a fucking ostrich does and just fucking pretend it's not there. We can't go to bed and fall asleep and think it's not there. And that's one of the big reasons why most business owners start losing sleep. Once you can't sleep at night time, once you're wide at night time and start getting that 5 and 6 hours sleep versus 7 and 8 hours sleep, something's going wrong. You haven't handled something. And again, this thing I'm going to share with you now will fucking fix all that. So you may have heard this saying before, greater the risk, greater the reward. What an absolute crock of shit. And if you believe that, boom, give yourself a punch. And now, if any of you guys that are watching this back, either working with me or thinking of working with me, I've worked with me for a while, and you're getting a bit sensitive now, great, because I'm probably hitting a nerve. So I'm going to push into it. So I want you to turn off your sensitive switch. You can feel it just about here. I want you to turn off the negative switch. It's about here. And that negative switch is also known as your I know switch right there. And the one in the middle, turn off the lazy switch and stay with me. Think, how could this apply to me? So greater the risk, greater the reward. No, that's fucking definitely not the way to go. The way to go is on the left. The more risk you perceive, the more risk there is. So stoic planning, fear planning is one of the most important things we can do in business. We want to plan for the worst, then reap the rewards when the best happens. Because then we got a great base. And again, this thing I'm going to share with you and teach you a small part on in a minute or two will actually protect you from that. So the more risk you perceive, the more risk there is. To give you an example, yesterday I went for a ride on my motorbike, my Harley, a good friend of mine, a business partner that came down from the city. It was one of my top 3 things to do for the day because we haven't done it for a year. And a good friend of mine, Jeffrey, and business partner, has been meaning to come down for a while. We ain't caught up. He came down his motorcycle. I dragged mine down to the garage. Now, the risk to go and ride a motorcycle is quite a high risk. So perceive the risk. Number 2, the risk to ride a motorcycle, you haven't ridden it for a year, increases the risk. The risk to ride a motorcycle you haven't ridden for a year without protective gear increases that risk. The risk to ride a motorcycle without the protective gear in weather that wasn't too great also increases the risk. So when we set up in business, it's no different to riding a motorcycle or doing something pretty scary. We've got to perceive the risk. The more risk there is, the more risk you perceive, there's actually more risk there. So we've got to understand it, understand that risk, and take precautions. You shall know the truth. It's from the Bible going back years ago, I believe. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Now, the truth lies within ourselves. The truth, we know the truth, but we hide from the truth. So the object of moving forward is understanding the risk, understand the truth, and we can do something about it, and not fucking hiding from it and trying to disappear from it. So pro A-class players don't fucking panic ever. They never panic. Why? Because this thing I'm going to share, because we're so in front. We've planned so far in front. We've had this thinking process in place. And the thing I'm going to share with you, what we have to adopt into our lives and our business in a second, will stop us being a big fucking baby and panicking. Because I've worked with that many business owners over the last 30 years that as soon as something gets a bit hard, start panicking. I'm a fucking baby. Start whinging, bitching, moaning, blaming other people. You don't know how hard it is for me. It's my particular business. This is how it works for me. Why can't I get good people? Why can't I keep good people? It ends up this constant evaluation of panic. And panic can come out in many different forms of emotion. It can come in emotion from having a sulk, having a cry, having a lash out, big verbal diarrhea. But basically that emotion that we carry is horrible. The worst thing in life to have is bad stress. Having good stress, having fun, enjoying life, and having great good stress is amazing for ourselves and our body, as long as it's limited. But the object is not to have bad stress. If we've got bad stress in our lives, that's fucking the worst thing ever. It breaks families up, breaks business up, breaks relationships up. and we end up in a real bad place. So we got a plan versus panic. And again, this thing I'm going to share with you helps you do that. So what is it? What is this big fucking thing that I've spent the last, whatever it is, 15, 20 minutes building you up to? What is this big thing that we've got to adopt in our life? And how we do one thing is how we do everything. What's this thing? If we can really understand it and harness it, will make the massive amount of difference for you, your life, your family, your kids, and everybody around you. What's this thing? If you can adopt and learn and understand and do and produce every fucking day and become this person, you can help many people around you. The number one reason we got into business, or the reason that you fail, is because you wanted more freedom. So you wanted less fucking structure. Was that it, Rencher? What do I mean by this? Structure. What is a fucking structure? A structure is everything that we do. A structure we build every day. I'm not talking, let's build a business as a structure now. I'm not talking build a great life, that's structure now. I'm talking about how we do everything has got to be building a structure. It's got to be building a model, because what are we looking for in business is leverage. And every smart pro player that's built businesses before, that's been trained into build businesses, that builds businesses over and over again, and also teaches other people to build business and teaches other coaches and other trainers to help other people build businesses, understand this one fucking fundamental. We have to really use our fucking brain to understand pragmatically, granularly, how to put the pieces together. Now, where does it start? It starts how we think. How do we think? Everything in business can come down to basically three shapes: a square, a triangle, or a circle. What do I mean by that? When we're building a structure, building a model. So earth, wind, and fire. Yeah. A triangle. What are the top three things in building this structure in the particular thing you're working on? Where do I need to go? What's important to it? What's the outline? What's the playing field? Whether you're building an organization structure, a sales process, or a marketing process, everything's got structure first. I'm going to share with you a bit more detail. But the biggest thing is having a structured individual. The reason why we got into business was to get away from this, was to get away from the structure, because we wanted freedom, the freedom to do what we want, go where we want, make choices, to get away from accountability, get away from that sensitive time when a boss or a work colleague comes and asks you a question, where were you? Because in business, once we become that small micro business owner or SME business, until we've got people above us, things just become pretty fucked. If you haven't got a coach, if you haven't got a team of people around you holding you accountable, mentoring you to how to build a structured, centered, principle fucking driven business and life, it will fail. I guarantee you, you will fail. I'll take my glasses off and look at you. You will fail. 33 years of doing this. Unless we build the structure, unless we build you to be a structured individual, either the business will outgrow you and people will outgrow you and be sat on the sideline thinking, what the fuck happened? And if you're lucky, it'll stay profitable if you've employed the right people. But 9 times out of 10, that's not true. It'll fail. It'll fail on the way up because we'll make stupid decisions. Because making stupid decisions, not being disciplined, comes from having structure. Structure is how we do everything. Discipline comes after structure. Structure's got to be put together. See, most people are trying to solve the problem that isn't. If you look at the problem that isn't, you say, hey, I want to lose some weight. Great, I want to lose some weight. What do? Most people will go and do the wrong thing. They won't put a structure in place for themselves. What will happen? We'll go and jump and buy the latest fad man shake, or the latest macro foods that you can buy, or the latest diet that's coming in, whether it's the latest diet that's on Dr. Grundy online or the next one on Facebook. People that are around you at the gym, you turn up to a gym and don't really follow a plan because there's no fucking structure. To lose weight, it's simple. Energy in, energy out, then break it down. Calories in, calories out. Break it down even further. Put some structure to it. Very simple to fucking eat. Just hit the 3 macros, your fats, your protein, your carbohydrates. Make sure you've got your right levels. Understand what the numbers actually are. Same to building a business. Build a structure around a budget. Build a structure around a profit and loss. Build a structure around a balance sheet. Build a structure around a team. Build a structure where you're off. Everything comes down to a structure. Build a structure. But the most important thing is building a structure around you. Become a structured fucking person, so then we can apply some leverage. And that's where the pro players play at. What's leverage? I'll come to that in a second. Structure. Where does it start? And I'll come to it in a second. And probably in a second video, I'll share a second video very shortly. But the first part I want you to think about, go and look at your schedule for the next 3 weeks. Look into the distance of the 3 weeks and you answer the question, how structured are you? The answer to your success will be in your weekly, monthly schedule. Who you're going to be, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, and who you're going to be doing it with. And the structure comes into your 12-week plan. Is it structured? Is it working the right thing? Is it hitting the right areas? Have you got a structured plan in place for your sales? Is there a way we handle sales? Doesn't necessarily need to be a written process, but what's the structure? The structure is very simple. Every week we've got 168 units to spend that you'll never get back again. From those 168 units that you get, there's got to be a structure to that week to ensure your personal structure, your business structure is built within that 168 hours in a week. 168 blocks, fucking simple. We go, great. I need 8 times 8 on a Monday to a Friday to a Saturday to a Sunday to be able to sleep. There's those 8 hours a day gone. So you've now got 8 units gone out of your 24 hours. You go, great. There's 480 minutes gone between sleeping, showering, and getting to bed and getting out of bed. You go, great. That's the amount of time that you should be having around your bedtime. Simple. To be an A-class, pro-class player, you've got to get sleep. There is no one better thing for your health than to get in sleep. Your body's got to go through the structure to sleep. Here's the last thing, or another thing. Structure to sleep, 3 parts of sleep. What is it? Number 1, you've got light sleep. Number 2, you've got deep sleep, which repairs the body and the organs. Number 3, you've got REM sleep. You've got to go through that cycle. You've got to go through light, deep, and then REM. If you don't get into REM, guess what? Your mind's not going to consolidate itself. You have all these things that are dancing around. You haven't dilated the hard drive to be able to think about where it's going. So a structure to sleep, then a structure to spend time with your family. Having dinner, does it have to be every night? Structure then to health, as I call the blue zone, for doing something for yourself, going for a gym, going for a walk, doing some breath work, whatever is your thing, having a structure around your working week. It's not a plan. It's not a schedule. It's fucking structure. It's structure for a human being. When you get out of bed, you make your bed. And some of the best structures can be taught by the military. Now, if we can create entrepreneurs that can also follow military orders themselves to be able to create structure, that's how you're going to be successful when you start building your business. Because without personal structure to who you are, what you're about, and how you go about doing you, every day, every week, and thinking structured for everything you do, that's when we will fail, because we can't apply anything else to business. So let's think about your current point A, where you are now and where you want to get to. If your destination is point B, it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but it's 1 week, 1 day, doesn't matter. There is a fucking bridge. There is a structure to get you to where you want to go. It's not thin air. We have to build it block by block, brick by brick. And there is work we have to do externally. And what's the external work? The external work is all the new things that we need to learn. Sales, marketing, operations, finance, system, structure, process, team, recruitment, the list goes on and on. They're all the things that we have to be able to get into our structure every week and to learn the right thing at the right time. So we have a learning structure. What things should I be learning next? What's the next step? What's the next layer? It's structured, it's steps. It's not let's learn everything and try and do everything and chase every fucking shiny object, because we've got greed and no patience and we all want it now. To build a great structure takes time. To build a great human takes time. To build a great business takes time, but it also takes time about doing the right thing every week at the right stage. And that's what we do here at Project X. We give you the right thing to work on at the right time. And all you got to do is not fuck it up, just follow it and do the work and lock it into your weekly schedule, your weekly structure. Then there's the hard bit that we do underneath the bridge. And this is where most won't play or most decide to fail, is they won't do the internal work. They won't take on the guidance. They won't take on the criticism. They're not prepared to go there, not prepared to turn the I know switch off, think they know better, or don't want to do the work, or want to be lazy, or want to go and fucking figure out the why versus the what. Why am I doing this for? Why don't I do this for? What's stopping me? What's holding me back? The internal work is not trying to figure out what's holding you back. The internal work is figuring out how to do it. Not why you can't do it, it's how you can do it, and facing those facts that stand right in front of you. See, any successful business, let's look at any big business. Any big business would have a board of directors. Why? Why is there a board of directors around every business for? Let me give the answer. The reason why there's a board of directors around every business for is to make sure the people in the business are performing to a high standard. There's not one person that can make any decision. The board got to answer the questions of the shareholders. Then the board's got to be able to steer and say to the CEO, say, hang on, boy, steady up there a little bit. Don't go too hard. Let's veer off left or turn the gas. They help with the steering. Now, every business needs some form of board, hence per coach, Project X, a community, to be able to hold you accountable to not only external work you need to do on yourself to cross this bridge of success, but also the internal work that you need to do on yourself to be able to become a better you. A famous saying by Jim Rohn, which I remember going back from 40 odd years ago when I first read his book and watched his seminars on tape. I think it was VHS or beta tapes. And he said, work harder on yourself than you do on your business. That's the internal work. So if we do the internal work and do the external work and build structure, then we can have this thing called leverage. And what is leverage? Leverage comes in really 4 parts to any particular business. But the first part of leverage, you've got to have leveraged yourself, because you can't leverage anybody else or anything else until you've leveraged those 168 hours or those hours that you decide to work to a high-performing fucking individual. Now, a high-performing individual should be simply learning a new bunch of stuff. And the bunch of stuff that we give you here at Project X is to learn the right thing at the right time. But then you've got to finish that one thing off, bring it home, put it to bed, and allow me and the team to critique it properly. Your leverage has been part of this, but you've got to go and do the work yourself first. We have a rule here, what we call is 10-80-10. 10-80-10 is basically, I'll teach you the right 10%. You then go and do 80% of the work, and then 10% I'll critique. That's fucking leverage. That's leverage for you and leverage for me. I can help more people, and you can help yourself. And as you help yourself, guess what? You learn a bunch of stuff. Learning. The second thing, part of here at Project X, and part of having your own board around of what we do here, is when we attend events every second Wednesday night, every 6 weeks. It's called participation. Yeah. And once you participate, you turn up and you've done the work and you're participating with other members, showing them what you do. That's when you get to contribute. The third thing, the most powerful thing a human being can do is to be part of something. Is to be part of something that fits in with the same way you do that. The energy, the culture. So we learn a bunch of stuff, we participate in doing it, we share it and contribute, and that's how we learn. That's your leverage. Then leverage for yourself is knowing that you've got access to all these great people within Project X, whether it's anything to do with finance, or it's to do with marketing, yeah, or it's to do with sales, or it's to do with being able to move these things forward. There's so much leverage within the group. How does this work in the Project X model? There is this thing, and I'm not going to go into detail. It's going to be a second video that you can watch after this, which I'll put together and send through separately. We have a very structured, highly leveraged model that I've spent the last 33 years growing my businesses, growing multiple businesses in multiple states, in multiple countries, and it all works the same way. We figure out exactly what your identity is. The middle part in the middle is the first part we build some structure around, to be a structured individual that can understand how they spend their time and what they actually do, how to structurally think. We then structure your time and your money. So we've got this A-class human being that understands time, that understands money, and understands who you need to be to move forwards. Then we can figure out, which is the simple part, how to get the cash, by really putting a structured brand and model together with structured products that are easy to sell, not lots of fucking products to lots of people with lots of ideas. We create a business that is scalable and repeatable, so we can get repeat referrals and get recognized and recognition for the great things that you do. But we put a very structured model together that shines through. We then look at how we market. What's the marketing structure? Not to do everything. We pick a very structured process and plan to do one thing at a time. And the big one that most miss is you put a structured sell and conversion piece together. And this structured driver to sell and convert and put a structured process of how we do this, how we think, which falls into that 168 hours in a week. We grab one of your units of time to make sure it's a structured week where we sell and convert. Then we move on to structure. And what's the structure of a business? This is where we blow the thing apart, because once you've learned how to get the cash, we then figure out how to build your structure in your team, how you lead your team, the structure of the things that you need and how it all figures itself and puts itself together. Then we look at the processes in order to keep the cash. The processes then come in place as we go, how we structure the process. When do the processes happen? What does it look like? But again, unless we've got structure to how we think, we just end up scattered. Got to think in models, a triangle, a square, or a circle. It's got to be a structure, a physical model. Then when we come to bring on team, we're ready for team. We've got a highly particular structure in place that everyone knows what to follow. Then when you're understanding what exactly a business should look like and a culture should look like, they know, hey, fuck, this is a well-organized, structured business that is highly leveraged with process and systems that I can now perform at a high level as a team member coming to work for me, rather than walking into a shithole full of crap and just a business owner that's trying to lead from the front as a fucking Pied Piper and telling people what to do in a very unstructured way, because that's how it fails. We go on to dashboards and metrics, structure around when we look at them, what they actually are. We follow the KPI tracker, the KPI wizards. We look at the reports at the end of the month and end of the quarter in a very structured way, and we don't ignore them or stop work ignoring them. We follow it in a structured manner every week, looking at them, picking one of these units of time. Your financial literacy, understanding the business, looking at it in a structured way, breaking it down, looking at the margins, the operating expenses, and going, great, what is the structure telling us here? What are the numbers telling us? What do we need to change in this structure? What do we need to add in or take out? And then the last part of it, of growing the cash, comes to investment. Great. How much have we made this last year? What do we want to invest in? Not necessarily just in money, but in time. Am I going to invest some more time back into the business? I've got business owners now that I've worked with for many years that can sit in this investment segment at the end of 3, 4, 5, 6 years and go, great, I now don't need to work in the business now. You know what the problem is then? They have then become this person that have no value on who they are and what they're about, because they've lost their purpose. So the investment part of the cash mechanic model is so important to find where you're going to invest yourself into next. Because once you are an entrepreneur, you've got a fucking lifelong burden. You're right. You heard that. A lifelong burden to keep being an entrepreneur. Because once you've learned how to build something, and you can celebrate that. And I've got plenty of people I work with now. We get to the end of the yellow brick road and your business is built to where you first thought it would be. You've only got two choices. Number one, got to go and build something else. Or number two, reinvest yourself back in and take it to that next level. So the investment segment is, once we've been around the board, it's probably the hardest bit. Believe you me, those guys that are just starting off now, I know you can't wait to get to the investment part, but I can tell you, with working with clients, certainly in Australia for the last 20 years, they get around the board, got plenty of money, done all the cool shit, bought all the fancy things, and all the cool things, and kids are in private school and got all the toys. They go, what's left now? I've got a company, a structure, processes, dashboards, metrics everywhere. I can understand this business. How do you invest the heart back into the business to keep it growing? So guys, that was a very quick rundown. What I'm going to go into more detail about as we delve deeper into you, whether you're starting off or you're a seasoned veteran. Nothing ever goes away apart from structure. We got to chase structure, how to restructure and get more leverage. So very quickly, I'm going to share with you in the next video, which is the coolest part, of the 4 ways to leverage through business once you have structure. I'm going to share with you the top 4 ways that you will be working on with me, how to leverage yourself and your business to get to that next level. But without building your personal structure of who you are and how you go about doing you, because it doesn't matter who you think you are inside, all you are is what you do and what you say. Now, in business and life, the ones that move the furthest forwards, fastest, are the ones that have structure, discipline on working on that one thing at a time, but moving through at a fairly quick pace. So look at yourself, go back to your diary and think, great, I want to be able to work on this thing now that Wrench is talking about called leverage, and leverage the fuck out of my life and my business. But you can't leverage shit until you've got structure. And your structure starts with you, how you think internally. So grab a plain piece of paper out and go, right, from Monday to Friday, what elements of my life, what elements of my business, which parts, use whatever word you want, do I need to get more structured in? And where we start with structure, we are what we think. So if you can think in a structured way, ask the right questions versus make statements, the structure will start to form. This will be a big thing that you'll be working on with the Project X model, certainly if you're working with me, to be able to get you and your business to the next level. Quick taster into the next video that's going to be recorded for you. Or it's probably already recorded if you're watching this back down the track. And the 4 areas that we're going to work on in leverage. There's only 4 areas to leverage in business. Number 1 is finance. We build a structure and leverage finance. What's finance? Every fucking number in your business we form leverage on. Because if we want to be able to borrow money and leverage finance, we have to understand it. Or else you can't get money. And you have to understand how to get money to be able to, because money makes money. So to leverage through cash, leverage through finance, leverage through money. The second thing we leverage through is this big one, and you know what it is, team, people. Now, to leverage through team and people, we've got to build teams and people. Who's the first person that has to be built? Who's the first person that has to be structured to be able to lead a team? Because a team leader leads from the back, not from the front. You don't get a general running. It's only Braveheart where you see the fucking idiot on the horse charging out in the battle to lead the actual battle. A business is run from the rear. A CEO sits behind. A CEO is not seen. A player manager, yes, maybe for a short while, but the object is to be able to get you to be able to lead a team. And to be able to lead a team, you've got to be highly structured. So leverage through finance, leverage through team. The third one, which comes in line with team, is systems. So a structured, an unstructured person can't produce leverage because you can't build systems, because they're going to have structured way to think about how to build a system, how to build a checklist. And it's not that hard. You've seen fucking McDonald's, the number 1 restaurant in the world. What is it, McDonald's? Why? Is it the best food? No, because the best system. Does it have the best people? No, it has the best system. It's highly leveraged. Highly leveraged through finance, highly leveraged through team, highly leveraged through systems. And then the fourth one that's left, once we've gone through team, once we've gone through finance, and then once we've got leverage through team, leverage through finance, leverage through systems, and then leverage through